If you don't know, you're about to know right now. You're about to learn. Education. You feel me then? I'm Quindell Evans. This is the Blue Poetry Podcast. Thank you for listening. This is the podcast where we discuss the habits that it takes to create a successful life and also the habits that it takes to break through a stressful life. You feel me then? And on today's podcast, we're going to talk about accepting the similarities and differences of others. And what's that had to do with leadership, being a leader? You feel me? And first of all, I want to say I think everybody who tuned in to the Blue Poetry Podcast has been getting a lot of good reviews from the people who listen. Um, a lot of more listeners been tuning in too. So I appreciate everybody who popping out. If you feeling it, definitely share with your friends, your family, the people you think could benefit from these type of self-reflections. You feel me? The Blue Poetry Podcast, where we discuss the habits that it takes to create a successful life and the habits that it takes to break through and overcome a stressful life. Let's go. So first off, we're gonna start off with the pledge by Abiodun Oyewole of the Last Poets. You feel me? This is like I like to call this the affirmation pledge. You feel me? And it goes like, I want to be what I can be, to be proud, healthy and free. I want to say what I know to help my brothers and sisters grow. I want to feel good about me and blame no one for my misery, cause I'll be strong and turn it around. I want to go up, I'm not going down. I want to do what I can do to make all my dreams come true. Remember my past, the good and bad, how I made it art, even when it was sad. I want to share whatever my gift, and when you're feeling low, I'll give you a lift. I want to live without fear and know that I'm blessed for being here, and know that you're blessed for being here. Just know that we're blessed for being here. Just know that we're blessed. Alright? That's the pledge. Feel me? The affirmation pledge, what I like to call it. With that being said, today's affirmation is, I am a leader who appreciates working with other leaders who have their own identities. I'm learning to accept more because even individuals with like minds have their differences. One more time. I am a leader who appreciates working with other leaders who have their own identities. I'm learning to accept more because even individuals with like minds have their differences. You feel me? So this affirmation is about similarities and differences and accepting them. And what did that have to do with leadership? Because I was listening to Tony Robbins, and he was talking about how similarities is what attracts us. Similarities is what attracts you to other people. That's what brings you together. But differences is what's going to keep you together. You feel me? And the reason I vibe with that is because I feel like when it comes to similarities, we naturally want to be around people of like minds. We naturally want to be around people who on our frequency, be around people who vibe with us, be around people who think like us, be around people who support us, be around people who can finish our sentences, be around people who think like we think. And that's what is going to allow us to come together. You're gonna come together with people who you feel like you could bring something to, and they could bring something to you. But naturally, we all got differences too. You feel me? And I think that we want people who think similar to us so that they could kind of push us, accelerate us, and kind of agree with us more often than not. you know? But sometimes we need that person who they ain't gonna agree with us, who gonna call us out, who gonna hold us accountable, who gonna look out for us in ways that we may not be able to look out for ourselves because we operate from this frame of mind. Like we habitually think in a certain way, and sometimes we need someone else who thinks a certain way to show us a different perspective of what we're already doing, to show us a different perspective of what we are common to do, what we are, our normal way of operating. Sometimes we need someone to just give us some feedback, some criticism in a certain way that can allow us to see things in a different perspective and allow us to grow. So naturally we want to be accelerated and pushed, and we want people that could see things the way we see it. But sometimes we need that person that's going to see a different way and show us a different way, you feel me? And I think kind of being around people who think like us and operate like us kind of strikes our ego in a way. Not in a bad way. Sometimes you need to be accelerated and pushed and agree with, but sometimes you need to be disagreed with. You know, I got friends who might call me out like, I don't agree with that. I think you might be being a little rude. I think you might be being a little harsh, because I'm a free thinker, and a lot of times when I see that people, when I'm in having a discussion with certain people and I don't agree with certain things they saying, I might express my point of view. I might express how much I don't agree with it and how I think. And what that does is, that doesn't show that I accept people. That doesn't show that I am grateful for their differences. So when I get a person that calls me out on that, because a lot of times what happens is, when I speak, sometimes I speak with strength. I speak with an assertiveness. Is if you feel a certain way and I feel opposite, and I state how I feel, but I'm stating myself in a very strong way, it may come off as I'm putting you down. It may come off as if I'm not allowing you to feel justified in the way you're thinking. I'm not allowing you to feel like the way you are thinking is applicable. I may be making you feel like, oh, you should not think that way. You should think how I think. So when you get a friend who call you out like, yo, like, you could hurt people's feelings sometimes by just always stating your point of view. You could get into debates and arguments by stating your point of view that sometimes might need to be, concealed. Sometimes might need to be, like, you ain't gotta hold back, but sometimes, like, you know what you are, and sometimes we're not here to change people's minds who ain't ready to be changed, you know. And if you are grounded, if I'm grounded in my way of thinking, or if I'm grounded in my point of view, if I'm grounded in the way I go about things, me, my growth, and me learning different things is dependent on how much I accept other people, how much I accept other people's ways of thinking, you know, because if I stay in this frame of mind, stay in this way of thinking, I'm only going to get A, B, and C. If I want D to Z, I might have to open up to other people's ways of thinking. And that isn't about doing what they do, or if I think they're wrong, if I think different, it ain't about, believing it, or operating on that way, operating the way they think, if I don't like it. But it is about being open to it, because it's life. My way of thinking may not be applied in every situation in the most effective way. I might need to be open to other people's ways of thinking, because I might need to consider acting in that way one day. I might need to consider utilizing some of their principles. I might need to consider thinking from that way one day, And it's also about relationships. If you accept people for who they are, then they're more open to, you know, to build with you. They're more open to trusting you. They're more open to working with you when you accept people who they are. It ain't always about being right. So that's what this affirmation is about, because we can't always strike our ego. Sometimes we gotta just allow people to be themselves, And sometimes we have to also be open to change, you know? So it's, it starts with accepting people, and this affirmation is, I'm a leader who appreciates, you know, working with other leaders who have their own identities. We all are leaders in a way. We all have a purpose. So the fact that we have a purpose, we're leading through our purpose. So that's your identity. Your purpose is your identity. If I got my purpose, if I got my identity, in order for me to learn, I gotta accept other people's identities. We learn from situations that are different. You know, it's okay to do the same thing and learn over and over. Like sometimes you might do something, fail, do it again, fail, do something, fail, and you learn something new each time. But the key thing is that if you do something and fail, that you do something different so you don't fail the same way. You do something, you add something, you try a little different perspective, you figure out why you failed and try to fill that void and try to, you know, pick up the things that you know, try to eh, try to get better in certain areas that you weren't at the time. So like, otherwise you're gonna keep failing, doing the same thing over and over. You know, so like, we learn from situations that are different. You feel me? Because that is life. You feel me? Like if we was, crawling is different from walking. So in order for you to walk as a child, I think it's beneficial to see adults walking. I think it's beneficial to be around people who's walking and you be inspired. I think that's what inspires a child to walk. They're looking and like everyone's walking, and like, I'm laying down and I want to walk. And how do I move? How do I get somewhere? I got to crawl first, and laying down is different from crawling. Crawling is different from walking. So like, that inspires us, and what inspires the child to speak is the words he's hearing around him. I'm not a child psychologist or whatever, but I think that's natural. I think it's natural for us to pick up from our environment. We pick up from the different things that's in our environment. So it is important to be around different types of leaders. It's important to be around different type of people. We learn from different situations. We also learn from different people. We pick up things from every experience in our lives. So let's appreciate the differences of others. You feel me? Like, let's appreciate the different situations we find ourselves in. Let's appreciate the differences that are that even people who think like us have. You feel me? It's natural for us to want to be around people who think like us, but their differences is what's gonna teach us. You feel me? So, like, I'm an artist, and of course, I want to surround myself with other artists so that I can be inspired. That's natural. If I'm an artist, I want to be around artists so that I can have that, that feel, of, I get to learn from other artists. So I get to see different perspectives of art. It's important to surround myself with artists, but not just the same artists. If I'm a music artist or a writer, I might want to surround myself with visual artists and people who play instruments and performers. Of course, other writers and music artists too, but I want to network. I want to surround myself with different types of artists, so that I can learn different types of things, see how I can apply the way they play instruments to how I apply the way I write a book. You know, things like that are quirky. Things like that allow us to see different perspectives of the things we're already doing. You never know how someone can inspire you and push you through being a doctor or being a pharmacist or being a I don't know, a cashier. Just their energy, how they go about being a custodian could inspire you to go about being an electrician. Can inspire you to go about being a plumber, can inspire you to go on about being a gamer, to inspire you to go about being a basketball player, to inspire you to go about being, a clothing designer, to inspire you to go about being a teacher. We can all be inspired by our differences, you know. Just watching the way people do things can inspire you to do your thing, and no way is the right way, no, but every way is. No way is the right way, but every way is. As long as you know your way, know your purpose, our differences can all inspire us. And even if I decide to hang around the same type of artist, I'm a recording artist, I'm a music artist, and I decide to hang around only music and recording artists. The best thing for me though is to look at the differences, their approach to music, how are they approaching it, how are they seeing it, what's their perspective, how they apply themselves to it, what are their morals, what are their values, what inspired them to record and write music like me, what process did they go through to get there, you know their differences, their story, their background, their inspiration, their purpose, the reason why they doing it is what I can learn from. That's where I'm gonna learn. You feel me? These are the areas where I can pull different techniques from. You know, I can pull different lessons from that I can apply to myself. And so I might want to surround myself with different types of artists. I might want to surround myself with the same artists. But this affirmation is talking about having your own identity. When they have their own identity, it allows me to learn. A lot of times we're not open to people who think different from us. We're not open to people who have different identities and different backgrounds and different purposes. We're like, I need you to think like me. I need you to have, like I rather do it this way, and I rather do it this way, and but we have to be open in order to be free, to learn freely, to actually apply things long term, you know. And if we're not open, it's okay too. If you want to be closed minded, if you want to think in a certain way, you're gonna get a certain result. And if that's the result you're comfortable with and satisfied with, great. But to maximize results, I feel like we need to surround ourselves with different types of people, or people with different purposes, different reasons to do what they do, different processes, people who have different backgrounds, people who have different morals, different values, different principles, so that we can learn and share our differences so that we can learn. Similarities got us together, the differences is going to keep us together, because learning is what is going to allow us to grow. And if we can learn and grow together, then we can go far together. That's going to keep us together. So, of course, I want to surround myself with leaders, but different types of leaders. Or the same type of leaders with different morals and principles. However you want to look at it, you feel me? Because that's what we going to learn. You feel me? Because I'm surrounding myself with people, I want to ask, what are their morals? What are their methods? What are their approach to it? What inspires them? The reason we are different is because we're here to learn from each other. What happens when we don't accept our differences is we don't get a chance to really self-reflect. We're too caught up in our heads when we don't accept people's differences. And when we too caught up in our heads, we're going to be in the same cycle. We can stop that cycle and go on a path of growth, when we begin to accept people's differences. We don't always, what happens when we don't accept people's differences? We always think our way is the right way. And a lot of times it's not. A lot of times we're not right sometimes. Our way may be wrong. And we might want to have someone call us out. You might want to have someone help us out. You might want to have sometimes someone do something their way, and when we're working together. So it's important for us to accept people's differences. It's important for us to surround ourselves with different people. If we're on a team, if we're working together, Everybody can't be, if it's a basketball team, everybody can't be a point guard. Everybody can't be a shooting guard. Everybody can't be the same position. Everybody got different roles. If it's a football team, everybody can't play offense. Two different teams, everybody can't play defense. It's that way for a reason. If it's a company, it's a structure, everybody can't do payroll. Everybody can't work in the HR department. Everybody, like, everybody can't work in the same department. It's different roles for a different reason, and we all have differences, but allow us to come together and run a functional company. You feel me? It's that simple. So it starts with accepting these differences, and that way we can always be open to grow, open to allow our company to grow, always be open to allow our team to win, always be open to allow ourselves to learn from each other. The payroll department and the HR department can learn from each other. Whatever they can learn different ways how to apply a certain method or a process or a perspective or a way of thinking that is beneficial for the companies as a whole. Because that is what we're doing here. So how do you work, and what's your method about going about payroll? Oh, I work from A to Z. I start with the A time sheets, go to the Z time sheets. What's your method in the HR department for choosing who you're going to hire? Oh, I start with the most qualified applicants, and then I work my way to the least qualified applicants. Okay, I like your process of applying A to Z, So I'll do the most qualified in A, and then do the most qualified B, and then I'm gonna work, in order. Or I like your process of doing the most qualified to the least qualified. So I'm gonna do who turned their timesheets in first, A, and then work my way to Z. Whatever. That's just probably a very, extreme example, but we can learn from each other. However, we gotta learn from each other. Point guard can learn from the center. Point guard can learn how to rebound from the center. Learning. Oh, this is how you box out. This is how I box out. This is how I use my hips to. I don't know. This is how I box out. And the point guard, the center can learn from the point guard maybe how to pass. Maybe how to shoot better, a little form. Whatever it is, we can learn from each other. Cornerback can learn from a wide receiver because they're kind of opposing. So they can learn. A cornerback and a wide receiver on the same team can learn how to channel their differences to make it work, for the whole. And when we're accepting each other's differences, we're open to grow, We're open to grow. Everything is about growth, We need to always be open to growth, So our differences allow us to self-reflect, because if I notice that you think different from me, then I'm noticing how I'm thinking compared to you. So I'm self-reflecting. Or I think like this, they think like this. If I'm open to it and I accept it, then I can be understanding. I can have an understanding. And when you understand people, when people know that you understand them, the relationship is always open to grow. When we know that we're understood by others, we appreciate them more. If someone knows that you understand them, your vibe, it allows you to grow. It allows a relationship to build a bridge. It allows a relationship to grow. It allows us to be more comfortable with each other, even when we're different. A lot of times we go about saying stuff like, I can't stand the way they think. I don't like the way that ain't good. And this how y'all do things, and that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work for me. A lot of times that might be true. There might be people who operate in ways, and if you operate in that way, it ain't gonna work for you. But to be open-minded Maybe you need to operate in that way one day if it's positive. If you're open minded, maybe you need to consider the way they operate because when you need to utilize that way of thinking, if you accepted and was understanding of that person, you can go to them and ask them for some tips. Allow them to lead you, you know? But if we were closed minded and shut people down for who they are, when we need to operate from their way of thinking and we attempt to go get a tip from them, they might be, nah, what happened to, don't you think different? I thought you ain't like the way you know what I'm saying? I thought you ain't like that, you know? Or they might just shut down and not even want to be talking to you, you know? So, like, we got to learn how to allow people to lead us sometimes. We're leaders. When we're leaders, we got to learn how to allow people to lead sometimes too. And that comes with accepting people's differences. We stunt our growth when we're not accepting people's differences. We stunt our growth and we burn bridges when we're not accepting people's differences. And we can't live life burning bridges and shutting people down and thinking and thinking that we're always right and making people feel bad for being themselves. And this is a personal thing. Personally, I want to always be open to the differences of others, allowing people to lead me sometimes, pulling out people's good qualities, showing people how their differences is good. Last night I was having a conversation with my aunt, you know, and she she's in her 50s, and you know, I forgot how the conversation began, but I remember we began to talk about, you know, like what we want to do in life. I remember talking about like what I want to do in life, and I'm like, you know, like I want to be wealthy, like I want to be a millionaire, you know, and I'm thinking, I told her like I'm thinking 5 years, 10 years into the future, like 2029, what I want to have. I'm thinking, you know, the things I want to own. I want to own companies or buildings, real estate. I want to be in the stock market. I want to be doing my own business. I want to be an entrepreneur. 2029, I want to have this amount of money. And she's like, you got to take it day by day. You can't be, you can't be all into the future like that. Like every life ain't promised. Tomorrow ain't promised. You don't know what could happen. You go to sleep and you don't wake up. And I'm just like, I like that way of thinking, you know, like that. What I did was just stop her and be like, so what do you want to be? What do you want to be in 5 years? What do you want to be in 10 years? She's like, I ain't planning. I'm just going day by day as long as I'm comfortable living the life I'm living now and I got food on the table and a roof, then I'm good, I'm comfortable. And I'm like, okay, you have these goals, you have this vision, you have this is what you want to do for your life, and I have this. So you can't tell me what I can't do because we got two different ways of thinking, two different ways of going about things because we have two different visions. And I appreciate you for your constructive criticism, but I have this way of thinking because I have this vision. You have this way of thinking because you have this vision. Now, it's okay to go day by day, just like it's okay for me to go thinking into the future. And she stopped, she was quiet and she was listening. And I think she realized that, because I made it clear, like, there's no right way. I'm not right. You're not right. It's not right to think day by day and I'm just like want to live comfortable and want to just have what I need to have and you know and it's not right to think into the future. None of the ways is right, but whatever way, what I end up saying is like, if you have a vision, if this is your vision and this is my vision, whatever, if both of those is my vision, now if I was stuck in between, this is what I said, if I'm stuck in between thinking I just want to always be comfortable, have enough to live off of, pay my bills and have food and a place to sleep. If I was stuck between that option or striving to go all in, I want $1 million. I want to give scholarships and start companies and open schools and employ people. If I'm stuck between these two, ain't no right way, but I gotta pick one way and go all in. It's just that simple. Pick one way and go all in. And she was like, yeah, I like that. No, because I had the option to be like, oh nah, I'm not about to be feeling comfortable. I don't want to feel comfortable. I ain't trying to live my life like, and then I'd have been putting her down, you know? And I've been there where it's like we share our differences in a way that puts people down. So I want to always be able to allow people to express themselves and accept themselves, you feel me? Because ain't no right way. We all got a purpose. And we got, I might have to think that way sometimes. I might have to think her way in order to think my way, you know? I might have to be like, yo, for now, I want to make sure I got A, B, and C in order on my way to being a millionaire. Now, I might have to make sure I'm keeping my bills paid, the food, food in my crib, and roof over my head now. So I have to apply how she's thinking right now to my life sometimes, but still keep my vision and go all in, you know? And I think, you know, that's how things work. And she might have to apply my way of thinking sometimes, you know, to her way of life. She might have to, you know, something might happen where, no, not wishing nothing bad on her, but something might happen where she might have to think a year into the future, 2 years, 5 years into the future in order to plan for something because there's an event in her life which requires her to. So she might be having to come to me and be like, yo, and I might have to come to her and be like, yo, you know, it might be time we got to come to each other and give each other that energy that we need. So we all have a purpose, you know? And I like to surround myself with people who realize their purpose, people who reflect on their morals and their perspectives and their way of doing things or not. You know, maybe they're not, but we could just observe and learn from each other. You know, we can give to each other different ways of thinking because life is going to throw us different things, and we got to be flowing with the differences. We got to be flowing with the different ways of living. You feel me? Because when things change up, you got to be ready. With that being said, if you don't know, you're about to know right now. You're about to learn. Education. Let's go.